Hello, this video is for Module 1 Part 3 and includes a discussion of importing files. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So in Module 1.1, we considered the structure of data, and in Module 1.2, we considered the structure of files containing the data. The next logical step then is to get these files into our software packages, and this is what will be covered here in this set of notes. This module is going to be divided into the following sections: importing data at a novice level, importing data at an intermediate level, and then finally importing data at an advanced level. All of the data that is used in this module are included in this Google folder. So you can go here and download those. To download these files, what you need to do is simply select them, right-click, and then say download here. And that will allow you to put these files onto your local computer. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with importing data at a novice level. So we are going to use the home healthcare data again. This was used in Module 1.2, and we'll continue using it here for the first part of Module 1.3. The original data source is here. I have 4 versions of that home healthcare data here. We can see that this version is a comma separated values. I have a tab separated values as well here. The first thing that I'm going to show you is how to load a CSV file into a spreadsheet. Now we can do that in Google Sheets, or we can do that in Excel. So let me show you Google Sheets first. That's going to be fairly straightforward because the data is in Google Sheets, or in my Google Drive, excuse me. So if I go back here, and let's suppose I select Home Healthcare CSV. If I double click on that, that file is going to open up in my spreadsheet here. And I can select Google Sheets here from that drop-down menu, and that will open up inside of Google Sheets. Now, if this file is not on or not in my Google folder, excuse me, but is instead on my local computer, then what you're going to have to do is open an empty sheet, and then from the drop-down menu here, select Import. I'm going to select Upload here. And then I could take this file, if it was on my computer, and just drag it over onto that window. So again, this approach would be needed if this CSV file was actually on my computer and not in my Google Drive. Here in the import file, it asks you where to put that data. You can just replace the sheet that you're using, and then you can ask, or Google Sheets will automatically detect the type, the separator type, or if you know it's a comma separated values, you can say comma here and then import data. And that data will get imported as shown here on the screen. If you're on, if the file is on your local computer and you'd like to open it in Microsoft Excel, all you need to do is just double click on this CSV file and that will automatically open. Now the reason it does that is because a CSV file, okay, is the operating system is set so that the CSV file automatically opens in Excel. So if I double click on this, this file will automatically here open up in Microsoft Excel for me. Okay. There are videos to show you that. So step-by-step videos to show you how to import those in Google Sheets and Excel provided there. Next, let us suppose that I have a tab separated values file or a TSV file. Okay, again, the process to do that in Google Sheets is fairly straightforward. There's a video here for you to watch. If you want to open a tab separated values file in Excel, There's a video here for you to watch. I also included importing a file in a software package called Tableau Prep. Now, Tableau Prep is a package that is specifically used to manage data. It is a fairly new package, and I would anticipate that in the future data scientists are going to continue to use Tableau Prep to do some of their cleaning and management of data. And the reason I say that is because the most popular visualization package that we have is called Tableau. So Tableau Prep is a kind of a front-end app that allows me to clean the data and prepare the data before going in and doing visualizations. So this package, Tableau Prep, is fairly new, but I certainly believe that it's going to gain in popularity because of the popularity of the visualization package, Tableau. Now, you can download a copy of Tableau Prep if you are a WSU student. We can get that from our Software Editions app on our computer. So here I have provided you a video of showing you how to do that inside of Tableau Prep as well. I have descriptions of how this is done in Google Sheets, in Excel, and in Tableau Prep here. So step-by-step instructions. If you would rather just watch a video of this, okay, I have provided those as well here up near the top. So you have both videos and kind of step-by-step instructions. Hopefully that's enough information for you to import these files into whatever package you would like. Okay, let's talk about the intermediate level. So in this section, we are going to consider importing data using something called Power Query. Now, Power Query is available in Microsoft Excel, and it's based on this notion of an extract, transform, and load framework. So what we mean by extract is simply that the data is obtained from some source, somewhere. Transform implies that the data may need to be cleaned before using it. And then load simply implies that the data will be put into some sort of output that I will be able to use down the data pipeline, further down the data pipeline. So this ETL framework is just one part of the larger data science cycle that we use for data. Here is a link for more information about the background of Power Query. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the next example here. So for this example, we are going to consider disparities in chronic diseases in the United States. So let's go here to that data source. So the name of this section of the CMS.gov website is Mapping Medicare Disparities. And you can see down here that I can obtain a US map by county. It has every county specified here. We're going to use this data that is provided here. And again, I put that in our Google folder for us. But what this data has in it is the prevalence rate for 5 chronic conditions, and this is broken out by race and ethnicity. And this is obtained for each county and each county in the United States, and then also there is a state file that will show the results for each state. Okay, so this data again is provided in the folder, the Google folder that I have provided you. These are chronic diseases county and chronic disease state. Here are those 2 files that we will be using here. Okay, let's go back to the notes then. And I'm going to first consider the county level data. So if I go ahead and open that on my computer, let's go ahead and go here and let me open that on my computer. I'm going to open that in Notepad. You can see that at the top, I have some header information that's going to need to be taken care of before I read this data in. The actual data doesn't start down here until I think it's row 11. And this data is actually tab delimited. Okay, so there's not commas separating those values, but this data is actually tab delimited. Now we can't see those tab characters, but we know that they're there. When I highlight there, you can see that that jumps all the way over there. So this is a tab delimited file. Some other things that we're going to worry about here are these stars simply indicate insufficient data was available for that particular ethnicity, for that particular county. So this file here is going to take a little bit more work in order to read that file in. So by that, I'm going to assume that reading this file in is going to be at a more of an intermediate level. Okay, so how do I read this data in, or what would I do here? What I'm going to use is Excel Power Query. Okay, and again, I created a video for you in order to walk through that step by step. I think I'm going to show you that though here live as I'm doing the notes, just so we can go through that a couple of different times. So let's go ahead and say open here and get a new, get a new sheet. I just need a blank sheet. To invoke Power Query, I need to go under Data, and then I need to select From Text or CSV. So I can do that here, or I can do this from the Get Data option here, or submenu, and I can say From Text or CSV here. You can see that this Power Query is able to load JSON data. It can actually load PDF data. We're going to be loading a text file or a tab separated values file, so I'm going to select that here. I then need to go to the location of that file. So let me do that quickly. And I'm going to be working with the county level data here. This is going to be a tab separated, and it's going to have that header information at the top. Okay, in my first window that I get in my Power Query, I will need to specify the delimiter, as you can see here, and this has been predetermined to be tab, which is correct for this file. Again, you can see some of that header information near the top of that file. Down in row 11 and beyond, you can see that that data is in a nice tabular format. But I'm going to need to get rid of some of this header information before using this data. So if I need to clean my data up or transform my data or edit my data, I'm going to want to select Transform Data down here. If this data was nice and clean already in a nice format, in a nice tabular format, I could simply select Load. But because I have some cleaning or transforming to do, I want to select Transform Data. Okay. In my window here let me get my window set. What I need to do, again, is to remove these first 10 rows, it looks like. So up here at the top, I'm going to say Remove Rows, and I can specify how many rows I would like to remove. So in the box provided, I just want to say 10 rows. That's going to clean up or remove those first 10 rows of header information. The next thing I want to do is notice that the header is just generically identified as column 1, column 2, column 3. My header row here, okay, FIPS, county, state, condition, okay, those are the names of the fields, and those were provided in that tab separated values file, but they're not being used right now by Microsoft Excel. It has generically labeled them column 1, 2, 3 all the way down. If I want to use this first row as my header, what I need to do here is select this little drop down in the corner here next to column 1 and say use first row as headers. And now I can see that my field labels, okay, the names of my variables here are being used. Once I have my data in a nice format, in a nice tabular format, my last step is to click close and load up here in the corner. And that will actually load that data into my spreadsheet. Now, we will notice that this looks a little bit different than just a generic spreadsheet or a generic sheet. What Excel is doing here is it is identifying this as a data table. I know that because of the green and white stripes here for the rows. It has the filter buttons, drop-down buttons, which we'll talk about in Module 2. It has a name of my table up here in the upper left. So I can refer to this information using this table name. And again, we'll talk more about that information in Module 2. Okay, so that's how I load this data using Power Query. Of course, I can file, save as. I would want to save this as an Excel file. Okay, so maybe this is chronic disease. Put that in my documents folder. And now I'll be able to open that data table automatically in Excel, and I won't have to go through the Power Query steps to read that in again. Okay, so now let's move on to a more advanced description of importing data. And I'm going to work with that same data, but this time I want to automate a lot of that process. I'm not showing you this to purposely overwhelm you, but instead I'm going to show you this as to what a data scientist would do to approach this problem of getting this data and making use of this data. So again, this is most likely how a data scientist is going to approach this problem. So we have the following steps that need to be done. I want to automatically go out and get that file from the internet. That file is actually a zipped file. I want to automatically unzip that file. I want to remove all of that header information that we talked about. I'm actually going to load this into Python, and for missingness, I need to use the NaN characters instead of a star. So I'm going to need to replace all the star characters with an NaN. And then most importantly here is I only want to read in information from Minnesota and Wisconsin. Those are the only two states that I want information from. I was not able to do that with Power Query. Power Query requires that I unload the entire data set. So if I have a very, very large data set and I only need a subset of those records, okay, that's going to be difficult in Power Query because I have to load the entire data set first. But in the processing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to eliminate a lot of the records that I don't need before reading that into Python. Again, there's a video showing you these steps. I think what I'm going to do is just go out, grab that file, and show you how you can do this if you would like. So this Python code is available at my GitHub site here. And all I need to do is click Open in Colab, and you should be able to execute all of the steps there in that code. Let's go ahead and go click on that. And here is my Open in Colab link. Now, this is a Google Colab document, and this has been set up to run Python. You can copy this down to your Google Drive if you would like. Okay, and then you will have a local copy of this file. All right, the first thing I need to do is to download that data. Okay, so here's some kind of ugly code, but we don't have to worry about that. I have written all this for us automatically, or already written this for us. To execute this little batch of code here, I just need to select the Run button inside of that code cell. And this is going to ask me about running this document, so we'll just say run anyway. That is fine. You can see that that code is being executed. Let's go ahead and run the next chunk of code here, again by clicking on the little Run button. And there's some information about what is being done here. This is just telling me that it went out and actually got that file. So if I come over here in my Files folder, you can see that it went out and got this chronic diseases by race.zip file. Okay, so that went and downloaded that and automatically put that in my files here for me. The next step is to unzip that file so that I can see the contents of that file. And in particular, I want to work with the county data that will be returned here. So let's go ahead and click that to run that. Run this cell. Now you have to run each of these cells. Okay, you can't skip these cells, otherwise I might not have the appropriate information to be able to do the next step. So now you can see that I have additional information that is being provided over here in my files. The one that I want to be using here is the county level data. If you want to look at that inside of Python, it would be this code chunk here. And again, you can see that that top of that file has some of that header information that I need to get rid of. Okay, so here is the code that will delete all of this header information for me. Let's go ahead and run that. I can look at that file again, and you can see now that that header information is gone. The next step is to replace all of these stars with the NaN character so that I can load this into Python without any issues. That code chunk will do that. Look at that, and you can see that again, those characters have been replaced by the NaNs there. This step right here is going to go through and get only the data for Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it's also going to keep the header row here, this first row that contains the field names. I need that as well. So this code chunk will do that for me. Let's go ahead and look at that file. And now you can see that all of the information from Alabama is gone, and I just have information on Minnesota, and then down below here I'll have information on Wisconsin. This again is a tab delimited file, so I'm going to need to know that when I'm reading this into Python. So let's go ahead and proceed with the steps to read this into Python. Python is going to use some packages to get its work done, so that's what this does here. This step is going to read in a table. It's that data table with Minnesota and Wisconsin only, and here I am specifying that the separator is tabs. Let's go ahead and look at this data inside of Python. So you can see what this data looks like inside of Python now. Finally, let's use this package, another package called dfply, which is going to make doing some of my summaries a lot easier. Again, if we just click through on these code chunks, it'll complete each of these steps for me. Finally, down here, I'm going to get the average prevalence. Okay, and I'm going to do that for each of the conditions, and I want to do that for Minnesota and Wisconsin. So let's go ahead and run that code, and you can see this information has been computed by Python for me. So here I can see that the prevalence for kidney disease is a little bit higher in Wisconsin than it is in Minnesota. Or hypertension here, the prevalence of those is quite high, with Wisconsin again being a little bit higher than Minnesota. So again, I don't intend for you to be able to write Python code in this class. I'm just showing you this so that you have an understanding of how a data scientist would approach reading in data or importing data where there's some complexity to the steps that need to be done. Okay, let's go back then and look at our notes. Looks like I'm going to have to click back a bunch here. I guess one thing I should say before leaving this notebook, you can, under, I believe it's runtime, you can just say, I want to run all of the code chunks. Okay, and that will automatically go through and run each of those code chunks for you. All right, let's go back to our notes. I'm going to have to click back here a bunch of times to do that. Okay, I'm back to our notes now. The last thing here is a task that I want you to complete. So this is your, I guess, your task for this set of notes. And that is to take the CSV file. So I want you to take these two files here. One of them is a CSV and one of them is a tab separated. So this is comma separated and this is tab separated. Again, these are available in our folder here that contains all of the data. Here's those two files. Download each of those. So again, do a right click and download those onto your computer. You need to do that for both of those. Okay, so both, sorry about that. We need to do that for the CSV file, and then we also need to do that for the tab delimited file. And then what I want you to do is to load, okay, or get one of those files in Excel. I don't care which one. You can do the tab one in Excel or you can do the comma separated values in Excel. Again, it doesn't matter to me. So open one of those files in Excel and then open the other file in Google Sheets. And again, these files here are for those chronic diseases, but those are going to be at the state level. So you're not going to have nearly as many records to read in. They are going to have information at the top, at the header, that you're going to have to clean up. Okay, so you need to clean that information out before you load those into Excel or into Google Sheets. Now, once you have those loaded into Excel, so let's bring one of those back. Suppose that I have successfully loaded that data in Excel. I need to take a screenshot of this information. So I can do that using the snipping tool on Windows. So I just need a screenshot of this. You can save that onto your computer somewhere. I'm going to call that my screenshot. Okay, so after you have successfully loaded that information into either Excel or in Google Sheets, I want you to take a screenshot of that. And then what you need to do, or what I'm asking you to do, is to upload that screenshot here. Okay, and I can do that easily by simply dragging. So here is my screenshot. Just simply drag your screenshot onto that window or that spot there inside of the notes. The last thing that you have to do in order to put it into your notes is to say upload image. If you don't do this step, then it's not going to be saved. So again, take a file, or once you have successfully put this into Excel or Google Sheets, screenshot, and then drag that screenshot file, okay, that pic file, onto the screen here in my notes, and then say upload the image. And what that's going to do is upload that image into your notes for me. And then you need to do that again for the other file. So again, one of these are going to be uploaded in Excel. The other is to be uploaded in Google Sheets. And if you have trouble doing this, reach out to me and I can help you go through this process. Once you have both of those files, so let's go ahead and drop another file on here so that the notes are complete. So maybe the other one is this one. This one's in Google Sheets, for example. Again, upload image to course database, and that will be uploaded there. So once you have these two files or pics uploaded, then you can say submit my notes, and you should get the friendly green check mark that says that you have successfully completed these notes. Okay, that does it then for Module 1, Part 3, Importing Data. Thank you.